The SSDs, which we're going to talk about here, are a great example.
Yep.
I've got a couple of my favorite SSDs with me here. This is the G-Drive Mobile Pro SSD, the G-Drive Mobile SSD. So, we have different parts that go inside here. And I was talking earlier, I only know them by their code names, but some of the SSDs that go in this are top shelf, right? I mean, they're
Right.
not the things that sometimes some people will buy off the market and put in an enclosure. This is exactly the same part every time. This has an SN750 SSD inside. It's an NVMe. There's a bunch of DRAM, and so you get a bunch of great performance. And then we do things to this SSD also to make it awesome. And we pay a lot of attention to thermals as a great example. And that's that blue that you can kind of see coming through here is the
Absolutely.
aluminum that's inside.
Yep.
And we know exactly how hot those SSDs get. We build an enclosure around that performance. And so what that means is this SSD, for if you ran it for hours and hours, would keep the same level of performance because we know exactly how those thermals work. And so that kind of performance is only capable when you have that much control and integration.
And with that performance, we're talking 2,800 megabytes per second at a sustained transfer rate. So if you're pounding on these drives out in a production environment, they're going to get hot, or at least the heat is going to be a concern. So you actually had a thermal camera set up
That's
where
right.
you can show us exactly how cool this drive operates. Do me a
Yeah, let's
favor,
take a
let's
look
pull
at
that up.
that. Sure. Let me make sure I've got this sorted here, and we'll hit play.
I thought this was the coolest view in the world. And this is
So
one of
what
the
you're
greatest things that sold us on this drive when you first introduced it to us at NAB a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing here is the heat escaping, and it's kind of counterintuitive. But in some SSDs that are all wrapped up and covered, they're containing the heat, and these SSDs can contain a certain amount of heat, but once that is saturated, they end up needing to how do I get back on here? There we go. They end up needing to get the heat out, and so we can contain the heat and expel the heat faster. They can generate. That means we run a marathon at the speed of a sprint instead of pacing ourselves. We've seen other SSDs where they cost the same, but with this SSD, I can put a terabyte on this in 7 minutes.
Okay.
The other SSDs take 15, 20, 30 minutes because they begin to throttle. And so that's when it starts to really show up and become evident. Now, we also have a smaller version of that. This is about 560 megabytes a second.
Yep.
This is the USB-C version. This is IP67. You can run over it with a tank. We've thrown it to the bottom of a pool, fished it out, played basketball with it, ran over it on it with an Escalade, plugged it in, and everything was still there. So, I mean, when you want to get your stuff home, and you want to do it fast, this
Yeah.
one will do it better than most of the other ones in the same weight class. And so they're great SSDs. I mean, these are fantastic products.
And I gotta tell you, we throw these drives around here like they're popcorn. Once everything started closing down and we sent people to work from home, we gave everyone one of these drives, throw it in their pocket, throw it in their pocketbook, and everybody was home and using these to continue our productions and our own show.